All right. Looks like we're looking good. There we go. Get everything on. Welcome to Pieces That Pat Paints. I am Pat. I do the painting around here. um, if you're here, you come to see me paint. So, yeah, that's good. How's our music? It's a little loud in my ear, but I think it's probably good for you guys. Put it over here. Maybe it's a little louder. There we go. That's probably good. All right. So today we are, I guess, taking a break from all of the purple. I got to do something else for a second, just to like refresh my brain a little bit. So our friends and their children and our children are playing a D&D game together. And this is one of the characters for my friend's kid. And I won't reveal too much more about that information, just because. All right, it popped it in nice. So just because, I don't want to give out a whole bunch of info. Anyway, so she wants this little monk to kind of have the color scheme of Cheetara from the Thundercats. Which is a lot of like yellows and oranges. So that'll be fun because yellow is always fun. But anyway, I'm kind of waiting on her. She's still drying some of her primer, I think. Thought I saw a wet spot down in her back. Oh, where's our guy? We'll get our air can out. That's fun. That little blast of air instead of blowing on it. Although I probably should be blowing on it because it would probably help strengthen my lungs. And I got bad lungs. For those of you who are new to my show and don't know, I got bad lungs. Let's get that over here. Johnny's Corner. Hey, Pat, Jared sent me over. Awesome. Jared's a great dude. I love Jared. Welcome. So today we're going to try and paint this little gal up as best we can. We've got our palette. I got it all set up already. Let's see. Get a little bit further back, a little further down. There we go. So you can see our palette. And that's what we're going to be using today to paint up this little cat girl monk for a Dungeons and Dragons game. Excuse me. I've been feeling too well over the weekend, unfortunately. But I'm shaking it off. It'll be alright. So we're going to pull out our, maybe our number 4 here. She is really small. Now make sure you're get your paper towel out and get your brush nice and wet so that it can pick up your paint as best as possible. Now Cheetara, she is mostly like a yellow. And then her pants and stuff like that are orange. So I'm gonna let some of these creases maybe dry just a little bit longer. We'll start down here at maybe her toes. Looks like she's got just a little bit. There's a little bit of support there that didn't quite get cleaned up right. Let me get that out. When you're 3D printing, there's a lot of these little supports, and sometimes they don't make sense until you get it all out and you're like, oh, that was supposed to go away. Hopefully you're going that direction and not the oh, I was supposed to keep that. That's always harder when you're doing the I should have not taken that out of there. But we can easily just kind of work this little piece off. You always want to prep your model for right before you get started. I'm just very gently shaving off little bits of that resin there and trying to shape this toe the way we want it to look. Hopefully we don't go too far and break the toe loose itself. Alright, that's pretty good. We can hide the rest of that in painting. Okay. So, the base of her uniform should be this Vermillion. And Vermillion is, it's like real deep reddish orange. And we want to be super close here. Try to not get into the into her flesh too much, because we're gonna have to come back with, like, oh, it's gonna be yellows. So yellows are not easy to get to mask over other colors. So you want to keep your stuff as tight as possible. Awesome. Johnny's Corner says, oh, well, I wanted to drop in and smash that thumbs up. Back to the grind. Have a great day. You have a great day, my dear friend. I do appreciate you stopping by. We're gonna have some fun getting this this monk all painted up. Let me do just a little bit more adjusting. There we go. That's better. Now I can see. And we all want that. We all want me to be able to see. Sweet. Wow. Well, there's already one guy in. That was nice. Always makes it better when we get folks that stop by and say hello. I know we get a lot of folks that watch after the fact too, and I love that as well. So, you know, big howdy to everybody. No matter when you get in here, and really appreciate you. I'm definitely going to end up needing to probably buy one of those. I saw these magnifying glasses, like you can wear them like glasses, and they're like magnify and let you see better. As I get older, I feel like I'm going to need that more and more. You know, if we make a few little mistakes, that's okay. A little flex is fine. We just don't want to get too far off. And we're going to start off with this Vermillion. And we're actually going to bring it up to a much brighter orange by the time we're done. But we want the darker Vermillion on the inside, down on the base of the painting. And we'll do we come back and do the highlighting of it all, and we'll hit it up with the lighter orange, and it'll look a whole lot more. It'll really pop out when we get that done, that part done. Not sure. That's a strange malformation there, or what's going on. Alright, keep on coming down. I'm assuming that's pants. It looks like it just cloth hanging off of her. But we're going to paint her with some pants so that she has a little bit more. We don't want her to be... Right? I mean, that's not... Surely that's not her fur just hanging out, right? Maybe it is. Maybe she's just barely wearing clothing. Oh my lord. Okay, we're gonna do it that way. We're gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Let me get that paint off there real quick. We're gonna reset that. That's okay. And see, and that's one of the things where, like I always say, if you're a long time watcher of the show, if you get to it fast enough, you can clean it up. You get it off there. So make sure you're letting your stuff dry in between layers. Okay, well apparently she's just got this wisp of clothing, and the rest of that is her leg hanging out. That's a little risque, and that's all right. She's a cat lady, she's covered in fur. Guess they get to walk around looking however they want, right? The sculptor had his idea, and I'm going to try. And that's the thing with miniatures. You try to kind of bring the sculptor's vision to life. But there is a point where maybe you got to make some changes. I think I'm going to just paint as is. I'm not going to stress it. Because it is just a cat. I was like, surely not. Surely that's not just her leg hanging out there. And it is. And that's so much fun. She's just like barely wearing anything. It's crazy. You just a touch more light today. That's rare. There we go. Usually we need to touch less light. Today it looks like we need to touch more. It isn't quite as cloudy out today. The sun's shining pretty good. Alright, just keep running this Vermillion. This is what we're going to do. And that's our base coating. And that's what we're going to try to do first. We're going to try to knock out all the base coats really fast. And then we'll come back. The good thing about this is it is a simple color scheme. So it won't be too bad. Now where all is this cloth on this one? Right here. Just getting down on it. Kicking its butt. Boom, 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 boom. I like to kind of turn my brush around as I'm painting too. Like I don't like to paint on the same deal all the way through my use of a supply of paint. Once I pull the paint on it, I'm going to come up and I'm going to always kind of use it for a few strokes and then rotate it in my finger. And I find sometimes that helps me get a lot more of the paint off there. Now people who paint a lot, they'll tell you a lot of different things. So. Oh, hello Joyce, how are you today? Nice to see you. Always lovely to have your presence. We're painting a little cat girl today. Maybe I can get it to lock. There we go. She's a little cat lady. I had to take a break from the Tyranids. It's a lot of purple. They look great back there, but man, that's a lot. That's a lot of purple. And the fading, the repetitive, the same stuff over and over again. I just had to take a little break. I'm going to knock this out real fast. It's for our D&D game. Our kids are in a game where they are in Salt Marsh in the old Greyhawk setting. And one of them is playing a Tabaxi Monk. And that's what we got right here. A Tabaxi Monk. I printed this on my Elegoo Mars Pro 2. Mars 2 Pro, whatever it is. It's a great file. I think I found the file on my manufacturing. For those that are watching that want the deets on all that. That's that. Alright, making sure my base coat's clean. And we're going to change colors here in just a second. Joyce says that this one is neat. It's extra Monday-ish here. I'm just trying to be nice today. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sometimes the best thing to do is just focus on being polite to people. I should do better at. I should have done better at that when I was more out in the world. That's part of her. Now wait a minute. That's part of her raps, I think. Kind of hard to tell. That's got to be the raps right there. Okay, so that's the line. We were good. Hard to tell on her upraised leg where the edge of it is. Especially since the fabric's all funky on her. It's missing like into her leg and stuff. Alright, so now we're going to pull up a little bit of yellow ochre. And that's going to be our base color for all of her body. Goodness sakes. So, we'll start up here at her top of her hand. In the end, she's going to end up cadmium yellow. Like, she'll be a whole lot more yellow. And again, I say this about every project, I think, about the paints I use. I use a higher quality, thicker artist style paint than most hobbyists use. It's not for everybody, but I do multiple types of painting projects, and so I just kind of started buying like the one type of paint because I knew that that one type of paint would work on anything I wanted it to work on. If this stuff is too thick, I can always add a little bit of water to it, and I can thin it out that way if I need to. I kind of like it being a little thicker, honestly. It sticks better. I also like being able to have the control of it. Like, I want to be able to change the texture of my paint at will. But I use a much less what's the best word for this? The style of painting that I do is a lot less mechanical. It's not do this, do this, do this all the time. There's a little bit of feel to it and touch to it. And you kind of have to, I could kind of make decisions as I go. Boy, homegirl is about hanging right out of the side there. She's about to pull a Janet Jackson. Look at her. Just hanging, half hanging out. It's terrible. Still a pretty cool model. Even if it's a little risque. I kind of like a little risque though. It's fun that way. Make sure you're getting in between all her little claws. Inside those ears. This first coat always looks a little splotchy. Yellow just does that. It's something about the pigments in yellow. They always look a little splotchy at first. Once you start kind of smoothing it out, you get your second coat on there, it looks great. If you make sure your brush strokes are all lined up right and everything. your first set of strokes is not quite as important to be as organized with your brush strokes at first, but then you want to finish that up after you put your first coat on. You'll notice I'll come back through and I'll tighten up my brush strokes before it dries out. That way I'm getting that finish. And the reason you want to do that is so that your strokes look right in the finished product. Because like every layer, the strokes will build up. Now, I've said this before, I'll say again, if you're good with your brush strokes, you can use those brush strokes to simulate things. Hair movement or light or textures. You can do textures. Lots of different things you can do if you're good with your brush strokes. And the thing with painting small things, sometimes you can't really control the brush strokes, and that's okay. At that point, you kind of just got to get the paint on it. Whichever way it gets on there, get it on there, and then we'll figure out what to do next. Ooh, little part of her bicep I missed. Probably going to be finding little places I missed for a second here. So, anyway, for those of anybody who's joining us, appreciate you coming by. We're working on this little monk. She is very tiny and petite and a lot of fun. And we started off with a gray airbrush primer. You could always use rattle cans. That's fine too. Primer's kind of a primer to me. Caught her. It's like a primer. I mean, even if you went to like Lowe's and you bought some spray can rattle primer, it's probably going to work just as well as like Army Painter, Games Workshop, or whatever. What you're looking for is the type of color. You know, if Games Workshop has the specific red you want your color to be, then get that. But if it's like gray primer is like gray primer. Black, you know, and then you're dealing with the black for me and white for me in particular. I've always had like quality issues. One company to the next, you know. Like one company makes a better black primer, one company makes a better white primer. And when I used to do a lot more zenithal highlighting and stuff like that, I really cared about which primer color I did. But now I do most of my own. Like I add my shadows and stuff like that on my own. I paint them in, or I let the model do it, or whatever I decide I want to do with it, each particular thing. And so gray primer works fine. Now if I've got something that's metallic, I want to paint it black, but even then I might start it off with gray and then paint black on it by, you know, hand or airbrush, depending on the size. Because I want to get the brush strokes in a certain way, depending on what we're doing. So I could even go gray there. Anyway, I'm going to stop singing the praises of gray primer and just keep painting. It's a weird rant. I think that's my favorite part about live. Is like you can get caught off on some weird rant. I've watched a couple of people do live stuff, and it's always fun when you get caught off on some dude's strange idea of something, and you're like, oh, right on, man. I like it. Even if I don't agree with you, I like that you're expressing yourself like that. Get it. Now I'm thinking that Cheetara's got some little spots on her and stuff. But I think I'm really going to trick this girl out and make because she looks like a cheetah. Could definitely be a cheetah. I'm gonna trick her out with some super cool spots. We might have to do a little R&D, which means this may be, and we're already at 28 minutes. This will probably be a 2-day project. Cool. We will take a look at some cheetah spots, and we'll pull up some cheetah spots for next week, or for tomorrow, not next week. Brr. I'm still wanting it to be Friday because I spent the weekend sick, so it sucked. At least I'm feeling well enough to get in here and do this today. I don't like missing. We've been on a roll. We missed for, I think, holidays. We'll take off for holidays. We took off Christmas, I think, or New Year's or something like that. Maybe both. But I try to be pretty consistent. Get on every day. Do a little painting, do a little talking. Saw Ms. Swift won the Grammy Awards, the big time one, showing the big one, which is awesome. Congrats, it's pretty cool. I don't know a lot of Taylor Swift music, if I'm honest. But I like artists, so congrats to her. I hear a lot of people really irritated with something about football, but I don't watch that either, so I don't know. Only sport I watch. I watch my kids play soccer. That's the sport I watch. I think I'm going to show just a little bit of, just to break that color up. That's going to look really neat when it's done. I'm not sure if that's what the intention is, but I feel like I can do it and make it work. And we can even give 2 different color wraps here, which might be a lot of fun. Okay. Now, Cheetara has a brown belt. It's a pretty light brown, or I don't even think she had a belt. She had like a bracelet, and it was like a brown color. I'm doing most of this out of my brain too. Like I loved Thundercats when I was a kid. I thought it was a great show. Now this is a raw Sienna, and it's a little thin and creamy. I don't have another way of explaining it other than that. So just kind of be aware you're probably gonna do multiple coats of that one if you're using, especially this Windsor Newton product. It's a little thin and creamy, but it's gonna leave a nice color for this belt. And we're just gonna come back and do it twice. We're gonna put the wash on it, and then go from there. We might put a little silver bangle on the edge of that. I don't know that that's canon or anything, but she doesn't look exactly like Cheetara anyway. We're just trying to give her some color scheme. A little orange on her. Get off there. Okay. Now I gotta make some big choices about these. Big choices. We go with a black for the bottom of the robes. That little bit of that Shaolin Kung Fu kind of thing. Since she's a monk and all. Now you want to be careful with black. Because it gets on there and you're not going to be able to get it off of there once it gets on there. Not without some work. So just be careful with it to start with. Dang, eyes are all sticky today too. I'm pretty sure it's my allergies are kicking my butt. But that's okay. Let's see. Right back here. Again, just try to be super careful. Don't get in a rush. If you feel like your brush tip is too big, change your brush. This one's the one in between. So we have that /3/4/5. This one's the /4. So it's the one in the middle of the set where I'm using. Just take your time, breathe, and just relax. Try to slowly walk your way through the piece and say, okay, that part needs to be this, that needs to be that. If we make a couple of mistakes, we can always come back. She's so simple in her color scheme. This one's going to be nice and simple for us, which is great. Might do something fun on the bottom here. I put her on a base that actually I'd printed for something else that I ended up cannibalizing it for parts for another project. But anyway, I had the base left over, and then I printed this out. I was like, oh, we'll just throw it on this. It's a fun little jungle base, and it's got like some footprint looking things in it and stuff. So maybe we can make that look like muddy footprints and what have you. All right, so we're gonna have a little Naples yellow, and we're gonna hit her bottom bandages or wraps, whatever you want to call them. Again, don't be afraid to move your model, especially when they're tiny like this. I don't often use those paint handles. I have them. They're sometimes useful, and sometimes they're not. I have found painting under this camera, they are not useful because they're too bulky. But I'm going to eventually kind of get new cameras, and we'll kind of advance as things go. Kristen says the quick throw together we did on this character is going to turn out so fun, and it is, and it was. The kids wanted to play, and we were like, okay. And this was an ongoing game that our kids were going to join. And so we're like, okay, well, let's just make some characters real quick, and we'll find some minis, and we'll go. And we had this one, and this was originally supposed to be one of Kristen's, and but it was printed and ready to go, and so was the base, and so we were like, bang, 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 there we go. And so it's going to be perfect. And the Cheetara color scheme was going to look great on it too. I think we're really going to have to trick out those. We're really going to have to trick out some of the dots that are gonna look, those will look great. All right, we'll give this just a second to dry up. We'll just throw in a quick wash. Make sure we got everything done. All right. I think we're looking pretty good. Okay. All right, so now we want to drop in a really washed down version of this raw umber. And that's really just going to help get our recesses brought out. We'll be able to see more what's going on. Might even find some interesting things as we do this. A lot of times whenever I'm working on a model I'm not super familiar with what they look like, I find interesting parts. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know it had that. Like that's either a support or it's a ring. I want to give her a ring. We're going to make that a ring. We'll put like a gemstone or something like that on it, because that's awesome. Even if it is a support blemish, we're going to paint it in like it's supposed to be there, like she's got a little ring to kick some butt with. Smack you with that ring. Funk. What's the what was that in oh man, that was a TV show, Dave Chappelle's show, when that's the refrigerator. No you don't, 'cause now I got you on a switch. Ha, I got that refrigerator figured out. It only took us like 36 episodes. Anyway, there's an episode of Dave Chappelle's show where Charlie Murphy, Eddie Murphy's brother, is talking about Rick James. And talking about this ring Rick James had. And he hits Charlie Murphy with his ring. And it says Unity. And they're talking about how Charlie Murphy had Unity in his forehead for like 2 or 3 days afterwards because he got hit so hard in the head with it. Because Rick James was being kind of an idiot. And goofing off, and they were not being good friends to each other. So kiddos out there, be good friends to each other. Don't play games where you smack each other in the face in real life with a, what is that? I don't know that y'all can even see that. It's so tiny. It looks like part of a post. Let me see if I can get this out. I think it is. Yep, that's exactly what that is. Get out of there. So sometimes, yep, there, it popped right off. You'll get a post that sticks on there. There we go. Well, maybe not. Maybe I didn't get all of it. Yeah, that's better. So anyway, what they are is it's like sometimes the supports you get it to use to stick together as it's coming up out of the resin doesn't come off quite right. Oh, Bill Allen's back. Hey Bill, how are you today? What are you painting today? We are painting a Tabaxi Monk. You are probably very familiar with that. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Come on, be nice, Steve. Anyway, she's kind of going to have like a Cheetara color scheme. It's for one of the players in my kids' game. We have a kitty game, and she is playing a Tabaxi Monk. And so we're painting it up for her. And she wanted it to look like Cheetara from Thundercats, and I was like, well, yeah, of course you do. Yeah, Tabaxi are fun. Yes, they are. Bill again was saying that. Okay. Back to getting these washes on after I found that little blemish. And like I was saying, when you're doing 3D printing, sometimes you start trimming off these supports and they stick in a weird place. You don't necessarily see it sometimes. And then you go and you flash cure it and and then it's a weird like lump on the sculpt. And you're like, that can't possibly be right. And so you have to fix it. Alright, so we're just trying to kind of put this wash on her. It'll help us bring out a lot of these little details. Again, that's a burnt umber. Or not burnt umber, that's the raw umber we're using there. Raw umber for this. And we're just going to kind of run it down the edges of the model to bring out the little highlights or the crevices. I'm trying to set it down there. It's more stunning on things like that Naples yellow. You can see it a lot better. But it's a fun character. It's a fun setting. We're doing the Ghost of Saltmarsh with some of my added doobly-doos. Because I always add stuff to it. And namely because the characters always create things that needed to be added because of their tomfoolery. As it should be. So it's fun. It's a sea town. They are currently trying to go to an abbey because they're looking for these tomes of knowledge that another couple of groups are searching for as well. There's some sort of unknown operator that they haven't quite decided. They haven't quite figured out who it is yet. And then there's a known operator called Vossler, who's a human. And Vossler seems to be a problem. So they're constantly bumping into him, and he is also looking for these books. And they're not even sure exactly what these books are for. They just know that whatever, it's some sort of demonic something, and it needs to be dealt with. They also have the threat of the Sahagin, which if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, then you know what that is. If not, Sahagin are like really evil fish people, like almost like hobgoblins of the ocean, mean, spirited, four-armed freaks. I have some Tabaxi around here, or not Tabaxi, but Sahagin. We'll probably paint some. We're gonna have to paint some pretty soon because I got a big showdown with them coming. All right, that's looking real good. We're gonna let that dry for just a second. I'm gonna take a little drink of water because stay hydrated, troops. Especially if you're doing a lot of talking, you gotta stay hydrated. I think I even want to try to like paint the Thundercats logo on here somehow. Haven't figured out how I'm gonna do it yet. Probably on her back. I might be able to get one like right there in between her shoulders. That'll be super cool. Okay. Almost there. Can still see a little glistening. You want to wait for these things to dry off. You'll hear me say this all the time if you keep around the show for long, that it's always better to paint on top of dry stuff if you can. If you're making blends, I mean that's different. But if you can let it dry before you do the next step, it's always better because you can fix it if you can get to it fast enough, as long as it dried before you got started on the next layer. That was a lot to say. Okay. Getting close, getting close. I think we can start doing a little bit on her head. So this is a cadmium yellow hue. This is a much brighter yellow, but it is super thin. And it's just going to go on all the light exposed stuff. And we're going to come back later and we're going to do those cheetah spots. But we need to get this yellow to start building up before we do that. We might need to vary between the ochre and that cadmium. Cadmium is definitely where the light hits primarily. The very tip tops of her shoulders, and so on and so forth. But as you get down onto the jaws and stuff, we'll want to use that ochre again. Alright, so cadmium, especially kind of I'm just kind of flicking it across the top. I'm really trying not to get into the grooves here. Really just want to hit the exposed areas and let my wash do my work for me. Alright. Go a little bit more cadmium as we come down this way exposed arm. And then switch back to that ochre as we round down to this bottom here. Yes, that's really starting to look nice. Maybe we're a little too dark in here, so we're going to hit that with a little bit of ochre. Not too much though, because we really want to leave that darkened in. That umber wash really settled in there real nice. We don't want to take away from her biceps. She is a monk after all. Okay, so we're going to give her just a little bit of the ochre around the edge here. She is super risque here, almost hanging out. That's a little bit of cadmium on the top. So you can do the same thing over and over again. Where it's up higher and the light's going to hit it more, we're going to use that brighter yellow. And then as it comes down, we'll use the ochre. Like here underneath her arms, this needs to be our ochre. And again, she's so well defined muscularly that it's super easy to see what we're doing with it. We just kind of pick up her muscles and don't have to worry about it too much. It's kind of nice. Alright. Teeny tiny girl. Come on, girl, everybody see ya. Focus. Oh well. Keep working. Okay, again, cadmium yellow up here on these fingertips. Now we're going to come back and do her claws, of course, another color. But yellow is easy to cover up, so I'm not stressing it. So we're going to do that. We're going to do this top of the shoulder here in cadmium. All these surfaces that light's really going to be pointing and hitting at. She's so tiny. Yeah, it's really tiny. Especially in my big old hands. She's so itty bitty. It's so funny on the board when my youngest son plays a Goliath, which is a huge character. So it makes this little cat look tiny. We come back with that ochre again. Just underneath. That cadmium is, we're trying to make sure we don't obscure our wash. But yellows, Yellows love to be layered. Bill Allen says, I got mad respect for your skills and your patience. I appreciate that, my friend. I really, really do. I've always loved miniatures. It started out with, when I was a kid, we had Hero Quest. One of my friends got it for Christmas when we were really long. Bill says, my minis are my weakness. I do better with terrain. Yeah, terrain is fun. I like doing terrain. We might do some terrain pieces eventually. Just really want to be careful here with this. Not too much paint. And it is the ochre down here. I have a terrain piece I'm working on back there that's for Scholt. It's Firefinger. And it's going to be like a multi-level stackable terrain where it all stacks up at once. So when they come in, the players get to see the big stack of this tower they have to climb up. And then as they go level to level, you can pull out the chunks of the level and let them play. It should be a lot of fun. Still working with my ochre here. And again, just try not to get into the cracks the best you can. Those crevices where that wash went, they're really doing the work for us as long as we don't obscure it. Like I said, we'll do her cheetah spots after we get her base down. And the cheetahs might be tomorrow because I've got to go pick up children here very shortly. About 5 minutes left for today. And again, we can always bring that cadmium in later. So we can start off with giving her this ochre treatment. And then if we decide, like, oh, we want to brighten that up, we can always do that later on. We can always brighten it up more. The thing you don't want to do is start brightening up places that you don't really want to brighten up. So mind your shadows. Like, we don't want to stick it in her ear. Just make sure we got everything we want done. And again, if we have to, we can always come back and readdress the wash or whatever. There's always ways to fix your mistakes. If you just keep a level head and know the way to fix it. Make the decision to fix it quickly and then get it done. It's probably true in all things life, honestly. Got a mistake, you're going to have to fix it. Might as well own up, get it fixed, figure it out quickly. Well, they gave her a little badonkadonk, didn't they? Shine that up a little bit, huh? Put some respect on her. There you go, sis. Again, I'm using these muscles. Her muscles are telling me where to go. Oh, yeah. Looking super fierce. Come on, come on. You like looking at fingers, Mr. Camera? Oh, well. I can tell you just you're looking fierce from my point of view. Yeah. Just trying to focus. I'll be so excited when we get Cox in here and we can turn this autofocus off. It's way back here. There we go. Looks good from the back there. Weird. Well, that's about it for us for today. Looks like. Oh, yeah. We got like 3 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So I'm going to close it down. Let's see. Oh, we got to. Alex Druther, you're doing great, pal. Hey, thank you, my friend. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you stopping by. So we'll take a quick look around at her. Wish it would set up. Oh, I don't know, some Logitech thing. I just started YouTubing, so I'm really starting to learn a lot of the bits. I have a friend of mine who's a lot more tech oriented than I am, and he runs another YouTube channel, and he's slowly helping me out. Right now, I have a horrible internet problem because I live out in the country, so the internet's not great. So I'm trying to I got to get them out of here to get my internet upgraded, and they're supposed to be doing that. But I think everybody knows what it's like dealing with those sort of things and how frustrating that can be. And so we're just trying to be patient and gonna get that taken care of. And for now, we're just where it is, and because it's probably blurry anyway, regardless of how focused I get it. But she's looking great. Tomorrow we're gonna put in some cheetah spots. I'm gonna work around and see if I can't get it to where we can get super close up on her when we film that tomorrow, because those cheetah spots are gonna be teeny. Come on, you like to focus. Oh well. Well, oh, it almost did it. All good. Take your time, bit by bit, grow your gear and your channel. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your stuff too. By the way, I've been checking out your adventure with your monks and or your I don't know that they're monks. They're just it's an Asian themed adventure, and it's really cool. So if you guys like checking out live streaming or Dungeons and Dragons streams and stuff like that, Bill does that, and it's really a good story. So even if you just like listening to the story, it's a fun story. So we're gonna be back tomorrow. We're gonna put some cheetah spots on her, get her nose done up, do her base, and her uniform, and that should be it. So it'll be like a 2-day event for this one, and then we'll get back on all of our crazy Tyranids. Oh, look at all of them over there. So cool. Now that we got the hunter killer or screamer killer back there, really starting to look like a group of little army going on. So anyway, I thank you guys so much for coming by. Really do appreciate it. Hopefully for anybody who's coming into a little late, you can jump back and see it from the beginning. But we're going to go ahead and end up here. Thank you so much to everybody who came by and said hello today. It's always awesome to have people saying hello. Really makes things go a lot smoother for me. Gives me something to bounce off of, and I'm not just mumbling to myself. Thanks. Big shout out to my player that needed a D&D character painted up. Gave us a little break from all the purple, which is awesome. And thank you to all of you folks who come by and watch us in any form, whether you're watching us live or watching us after the fact. Thank you so much, and thanks for all the comments and the shares and the loves and the likes and all that stuff. It's really amazing to have the support that we have around here. So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much, and we're going to see you later. Bye.